Tanya, so many people ask us how we first met, how we started Studio Pilates. So, yeah, let's dive into that.
Yeah, well, it's been a while, hasn't it? Yeah, people do often ask, how did you get started and whatnot? And probably the backstory around us as teenagers, it feeds into that a little bit because a lot of people don't know we've been together for over 30 years now. I know we don't look that old. So it's hard to believe, but no, we have. And, we were both swimmers. Jade, a little bit better than me, went to the Olympics in 1996, which is amazing. But
When we met, we were like 16, 17?
no, we would have met when we were 12, 13,
Sure.
but we started going out then.
Yes.
Took 4 years for us, but we both did a lot of Pilates for cross training, and I guess that's where the love of Pilates first started. Even before we trained together, we were doing that independently. I had a lot of injuries. I'm quite hypermobile, as a lot of swimmers are, and I became a physio because of that. And once I started doing Pilates, I realised I never needed to go to the physio. So that's how my love of Pilates started. And yours is probably the same, cross-training?
Cross-training for swimming. Swimming is a massive part of my life, and discovered Pilates as a cross-training tool. And when I was doing the combination of the both, I was swimming the fastest I've ever swum. That was, hands down the fastest that I've ever gone. And yeah, and the least amount of injuries as well, so I think that's where I guess that spark first started from the Pilates side of things. I guess our start in the Pilates as a business was very organic. What do you recall from that time?
Well, you were working as a personal trainer, I was working as a physio, and we were both doing it separately. And I think from memory how it even came about that we opened our first studio is that an opportunity just arose. There was a space to be leased next to, in a building of someone that we knew, was renting the space next door as a physio. We'd both been teaching Pilates separately and then thought, okay, why not? Let's give this a go. We can do this. And back then, I think there was only one other Pilates studio in Brisbane, our hometown.
Yeah, there wasn't many.
It wasn't many, was there?
No.
And we thought we'll give this a go and, work together, which obviously has turned out really well. But, how we started is very different to what it's become today.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that time, I think I, even just choosing the name, I think you were overseas at the time. I phoned you. I said, what are we going to call this business? And we weren't super imaginative. We came up with Studio Pilates, and so, from there, it was, just, piecing it all together.
Yeah.
I remember, the need to get a couple of reformers to stick in this, this small room that we were about to rent. Went to the bank and asked for a loan for $10,000, a personal loan. I said, "Do you have any assets?" I said, "What are assets?" Had no idea, for a $10,000 loan, and they basically just laughed me out of the out of the branch. And so, but from there, I was that was a little embarrassing. However, I remembered that I had a credit card that I'd never used, had a $10,000 limit on it. I was like, yep, cash advance, let's go.
Which is probably not advisable.
It's not advisable, not super responsible. However,
but we backed ourselves, and we're confident it was going to work.
Backed ourselves. Did a credit cash advance, $10,000, paid for a couple of machines, and then for a couple of reformers. Did a few favors for some other people to get like a reception desk and, to get it all started. Even, our next door neighbor at the time did our logo as well. So yeah, did you want to share that story?
Yeah. Oh, he's a great guy. Hilarious, funny, quite eccentric but he was creative. That's what he did, kind of design. And the logo, I kind of signified, in his mind, he created it. We can credit him forevermore. I guess the yin and the yang, and like the mind and the body, soul, and the balance that Pilates provides, and also symbolises a Swiss ball that you use in Pilates. So there were multiple things, I guess, that went into that being created. But, yeah.
And it's the same logo that we've had, since then.
Yeah.
And, I guess once we had those pieces together, then my uncle is a printer, and we we got our neighbour to do some artwork for our first brochure. We sent it to my uncle to get printed, got those, and we walked around every street in our neighbourhood, popping those brochures in everybody's letterbox.
Yep.
And
Even though it was so hot,
it was super
we
hot,
did
middle
it.
of summer, and and the phone started to ring. The phone started to ring, and we started to get customers, and we were very busy within 6-7 weeks, pretty much straight away, and that was really great. And then just simply focused on creating the best customer experience that we could, delivering the best workouts each and every time.
Sorry, Jade. I was just going to say, initially it was just the two of us.
Yeah,
doing
for a long
everything
time. For a long
very
time, we
long
were
time.
instructing side by side, both of us in the same space, 90 hours a week. Week in, week out, we were both instructing that much, and I wouldn't have had it any other way, to be honest. I think if we were working that much and instructing that much, and you were doing a different job, and I think there would have been a disconnect, because I would have been working a lot, or vice versa, but we were in the trenches together, we were doing it together, and we were building it together, which was incredibly a rewarding time.
Yeah, and great, in the whole scheme of running business together, a lot of people say they can't work with their partner. Obviously, we get on really well. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been together for 30 years. But we have kind of different strengths and things that kind of complement each other. So from a work perspective, it kind of just has worked really well, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't have had it any other way, and I think that, with those, differing strengths, it all combines with the love of helping people, and helping others, and also to grow this brand and to spread the word, to spread the message, to actually see more neighborhoods benefit from a world-class Pilates studio in their neighborhood, and that's I think that's really what drove us. That ambition to see that those world-class workouts everywhere is really what drove me. And then it's trying to figure out, okay, what do we want to do here, and how can we do it? And that's when things like our mission formed, our vision. So our mission is to change the way the world works out. That's our moonshot. That is our big, hairy, audacious goal. And then it's okay, well, how do we do that? How do we go about it? And that's when the conscious and subconscious brain works to figure those things out. And obviously franchising was part of that pathway. And training and development of instructors, a big part of that.
I mean, we were very willing and able. We were young, we had lots of energy, we worked our little butts off for a really long time, and then we got to a point where we went, okay, we need to have some other people do this, and then realized that it wasn't the easiest to find other Pilates instructors. Having never run businesses before, we had no systems created. We would want the receptionist to do it the way that we did it, say the things we said, but there was no training systems for them.
Same thing with instructing.
Same thing with instructing as well. I guess the not being able to find people, having them probably not do as good a job as what we would have, and doing that because they weren't trained in properly.
Yeah.
That's on us. Makes you realise,
Can't blame them, train them.
No. So then we had a really long time where we were instructing, doing it all, and writing and creating systems. So many hours, and that took several years. And I guess whether you're running one business or you're running a franchise, it's those systems and processes and training of staff that enables you to not have to be the person doing every job within that business. And we spent a lot of time, trial and erroring all the different things, and then writing all the systems and refining them and creating all the training for the other staff, so that every single staff member that could come in would be doing exactly how we would do it. And I think that was a game changer. And it was also at that point when we realized, hey, we've already created all these systems for this one studio. It's so easy for someone else to come in and take those systems and then be able to run it themselves as well. So, doing all that hard work and creating all of those systems and training processes is what has really enabled the franchise model to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that evolution continues. We're always constantly improving those, adding more stuff, even though we've been doing that for well over a decade now,
Mm,
nearly a decade and a half, we're still evolving that, improving that, getting it better each and every day. It's that constant evolution. And that is one of our, our core values ultimately, as well as, and, I think, looking back, it's been such an incredible journey, I find it extremely fulfilling to know that not only we're creating a great experience for our clients and our customers to benefit from Pilates and experience that, but also for our instructors, giving them something that's a job that's ultra fulfilling, and also our franchisees to know that both our instructors and franchisees we're creating that fulfillment, that they're building futures for themselves, and I think that is something that's incredibly rewarding and fulfilling in so many ways, and it's extremely inspiring, and I get inspired by it every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the thing that is the most rewarding, is helping others, whether it be getting a good workout, becoming a best instructor, becoming a successful franchisee and business owner. Definitely is amazing. Yeah, and through all of the mistakes that we made, all of the trial and error things we did, we really worked out the best way to go about it, so that people coming in and benefiting from all of that hard work don't have to go through all of that. And it's really nice to be able to impart all of that knowledge as well. And obviously we changed things a lot from how we originally did it. Initially we instructed freestyle with no TV screens.
Unsupported by the television screens.
Which was a very exhausting way to do it when you were doing it for a long period of time. And it meant that you could only take a few clients at once and have them get the benefits of getting really hands-on corrections and technique help and exercise modifications, which I guess led into the whole way in which we changed it to be able to cater to more people in a class instead of just really small groups, by having the TV screens show the visual and the audio, where the instructors are kicking in with the audio cues as well as getting hands-on and helping clients. I think that was a real game changer as well.
Yeah, and that was back in 2009. And at that time, nobody was doing screen-led workouts. We couldn't find anyone anywhere, not only in the Pilates category, but in any category in the fitness realm. So, for us, it was when I created that, it was very, how do we say, I was excited. I was incredibly excited because I knew that this made what we did so much easier. We could see the future. We could see the dream being fulfilled, one day ultimately, and seeing that vision fulfilled for the business. And that was an incredibly exciting time. But we didn't rush to franchise, so we did that
what year was that?
That was 2009 that we innovated with the Studio Pilates TV, but it was about 2012 that we granted our first franchise. So we tested that model for, once we innovated, we ran that single studio for
nearly 4 years.
3 years, over 3 years before we granted our first franchise. And in that time, that's when we were refining that model, because it's that vision, that for the business, which is, it's our million people plan, is to see 1 million people changing their lives through the Studio Pilates workout experience by 2035. And that requires 2,000 studios, over 2,000 studios. And so in order for us to get that scale, we needed consistency, we needed systemization, we needed processes, we needed training, because our franchisees need to be armed with the best knowledge that they possibly can in order to be able to succeed and win in business, and for that goal to be achieved.
Yeah, and wouldn't it have been nice for us to have had that early on too? But I think we needed to go through, learn the lessons that we did, and in made lots of mistakes along the way early on to refine the systems and processes to be where they are today.
Yeah, but even things like, there were many of the ways that we do things were simply born out of, frustration or just real world experience. Even things like, the numbers on the springs. I remember that, we never used to have numbers on the springs. They were just springs, and we used to bend over and change every single spring for every single customer for every single workout. And when you're doing that for several years, working 90, 100 hours a week, that's a lot of repetition. That's a lot of changing springs. That's a lot of bending forward. And I remember I inflamed my disc. I'm extremely fit and active, but I injured my back by doing that too much. It was just that repetitive strain. And so then I was like, you know what? I'm so stiff. I can't even change the springs. I'm going to have to think of a way in order to make this happen. So then got a Sharpie, got a magic marker out, and wrote on the spring bar the numbers. So then I can communicate to the client, say, sorry guys, I've hurt my back. I can't bend over anymore. I've been doing this so much. Can you change the springs to 1.5 or 2.5? And that's something that was just born out of necessity, and now it's something that we've done forever.
Just about every system and thing that we do was made for a reason. And you're right, out of a little frustration or a big frustration.
Or a challenge faced. I remember it was extremely hard to find instructors. It was difficult to find. And, then we had no idea what we're doing, in regards to employing people, onboarding people, and training and nurturing team. So we'd get staff and they'd do things slightly differently to us, and then the clients, they were a bit confused, and sometimes they would then leave, and that would be very disappointing, be heartbreaking, and, after a period of that time, we were like, you know what? That's on us because we didn't train them. It's not this new instructor's fault. It's on us because we didn't create that training system. We didn't teach them exactly how to do it. We just expected them to come, to the table with all of the knowledge and all of the skills and do it our way, and it was a realization of, okay, no, we do things a little uniquely and we need to train people in order to do that. And that was what you mentioned before, creating that education, so that Studio Pilates Academy, so that people could learn the Studio Pilates way, and they could be empowered to, do their role the best way possible, and had the knowledge and skills to be able to do that, and the confidence.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The instructor training, once we started doing that, which I think we probably started in maybe 2007, 2008, something like that, was a real game changer because it wasn't the easiest to find people, and let alone people that kind of were trained in a way that you would want them to be instructing.
Yeah, and not that there was anything wrong with their training.
It's just different.
Yeah. It's just slightly different. They'd describe things in a different way, or they would do things slightly differently, and that was, it just wasn't the Studio Pilates way. So we recognized, that self-reflection of, okay, no, we do things a little uniquely, all right, for a reason, and here's the reasons why, and here's how you do it this way. So, developing that. And like you said, there was years ultimately of writing those manuals. We were there typing away, photographs, images, all of those sort of things to create those manuals. It was a labor of love for sure.
And it's ever evolving too.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time and effort as well as
on top of running the business and on top of instructing.
Yeah. As well as having I guess the knowledge and experience. It's much easier to create these training systems and processes when you've lived and breathed it for so long as well. So, even though it took us a long road to get to that point, I think it was an essential path to take in order to be able to create what we have.
Yeah, 100%. Looking back, would you do anything differently?
Would I do anything differently? I think we probably could have systemized systems and training processes probably a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, learning process of managing team and instructors and onboarding people, which I think is something that, any new business owner, you're new to it. So I don't know that we could have done it any differently, but probably just would have been good to, have done that probably a little bit earlier. But no, I think everything that we did has taught us the lessons that we can then impart onto, the franchisees that are coming in now.
Yeah, that's it. School of hard knocks.
Yeah.
You know, there's definitely a lot of school
Absolutely.
of hard knocks.
Yeah.
You know, and that was that's how you gain the experience at the end of the day.
Mm.
You know, and I think that's it's very underrated. You know, there's sometimes you just got to feel your way through things.
Yeah. And I think the good thing about that is, if an instructor or a franchisee, comes to us now with I'm experiencing this, or this has happened with this client, whatever the realm is, we've been there, done that, seen it, been through it. And so have a lot of our team have been around for, 18 years, in the teens of years. And obviously we've got amazing people who've been here for a shorter period of time as well. But there's so much depth of knowledge and experience in, each field within running the business, whether it be marketing, sales, instructing, HR, team management. Without all of that expertise, experience, the system wouldn't be what it is either.
And God, thinking back, to have that accessibility to people who know that have done it before, it would have been an absolute blessing back in the day. Oh
Yes.
my gosh, if you could phone a friend and find out something, that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a really rewarding part of, this organization, to be able to, to have our franchisees encounter challenges or, face issues that we can absolutely help with, because we've been there, done that, and got the shirt to prove it,
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I know. So yeah, long journey to get to this point. Exciting future. Very excited about, the upcoming, years
Expansion.
to come.
Yeah.
Moving into, a few more different countries and, growing in the countries we're already in. It's kind of a little bit surreal at times, I think, to think of where it all started, but, it hasn't happened overnight. It's been a lot of time and effort, energy, passion and love for Pilates and the business to get to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's every time that I go to a new studio, because obviously still have our original studio in Hawthorn, Brisbane, Australia. That's our first location. And then to go to, places right across the globe, and to walk into these studios and to see that, that iconic Studio Pilates look, and delivering those workouts and in the Studio Pilates way. It's very much a, pinch me moment every time that I see that, and go into those new studios in those new neighborhoods, and it's an amazing thing.
Yeah. And it's pretty cool too to, have clients going from all around the world, all doing the same thing on the same day as each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for reminiscing with me, Tanya. It's been great. And I'm sure we could talk about this all day.
Yeah, lots of stories to share.
Yes.
Too many to even remember really in one minute. But it's been a great journey.
Absolutely.
Happy to be on the journey with you.
Oh, bless you.